Hello and welcome back once again to movie reviews. Second movie of the day, went and saw The Giver. Not really a whole lot to say about this one. I really didn't take that many notes on it. There was only two major things that really stuck out to me, and that was really flaws in the logic of the film. I know this is based on a book. I haven't read the book, so I don't know how it compares to the book. As always, that's not my thing. But overall, I kind of like the movie. Again, as with most movies, the pacing is weird. It's not bad, but at the same time, it could have been paced slightly better. So, you pretty much get the gist of the story from the previews. Humanity has created these civilizations that are away from everything. Basically just kind of secluded. They've stripped away like all emotion, all concepts of love, hate, religion. They've stripped away our sense of color because colors can bring out emotions, I guess, or you can differentiate between people. Basically, although they don't really show many in this community, everyone in the community is white, but the fact that it's in black and white for part of the movie, any number of them could have been any ethnicity. So maybe that's part of it too, is it strips away prejudice. But yeah, so they live in this community, and they're basically raised certain ways. They don't lie. They don't. They have these sets of rules, and when you reach your graduation age, 18, because they basically go like the newborns, the halfways, which are the 9-year-olds, the graduates, which are the 18-year-olds, and then the elders. So when you become 18, you get assigned a job. And basically the community elders watch you your entire life and determine what your strong points are, what you have a passion about, even though there is no passion. Like a quirk that makes you slightly different than anyone else, which is something they're trying to stamp out, ends up becoming your job. And so it's just kind of assigned to you. And the main character, whose name is Jonas, I believe. Jonas. Because I remember that because of the Jonas Brothers. Haha. So he has been they're doing this ceremony, and they skip over him for a minute. And basically go through the whole ceremony, because he was like number 52 in line. They went from 51 to 53. And then all the way up to 150, and the ceremony is basically done, and he's just kind of standing there on the stage by himself, like, what's going on? And then the elder comes out and says, everyone probably thinks I made a mistake and skipped over him, but we kept him till last because he's been selected for a special purpose. And it's like one out of every generation is chosen to become the receiver of memory. Basically, they're the only person in the community that has knowledge of the time before they became this community, so that, as explained in the preview, if something comes up to where they're not sure how they should approach it, the keeper of the memories can be like, well, we tried this approach in the past and it led to a war, or a rebellion, or, something along that lines, or we tried this way and it worked out good. So it kind of gives them a guideline, because everyone's memory has sort of been erased. So Jonas has been selected to be the new receiver of memory, which means he has to meet with the old receiver of memories. And he says, well, if I'm the receiver, what does that make you? And the old guy says, I guess that would make me the giver. Title, right? Roll credits. No. I stole that from somebody. If you can figure out who, congratulations. So he becomes the giver, and Jonas is the receiver. And he's given all this knowledge, and he tries to share it with his friends, even though he's not supposed to. It's a violation of the rules. But then even the giver, when he's questioned by the elders, he's like, I did the same thing when I was the receiver. And he's like, in case you guys don't remember, hinting that he tried to share it with some of them. So Jonas is kind of learning things a little bit quicker than he should, and at the same time becoming reckless. So he's gaining his emotions back, which have been stripped away because he stops taking his daily injections. He starts trying to convince his friends to stop taking their injections, and one of them does. So they start to experience emotions and feelings as well. And then he realizes that, spoiler, so if you don't want to know, if you haven't read the book or don't want to know the premise here, skip ahead a little bit. Not too far though. So he basically kind of realizes that the people who aren't fit for the society, like if they become too old or if they start to develop, if they go outside of the bounds of normal laws, even though they are taking their injections, they get retired to elsewhere. Basically, retirement to elsewhere, spoiler, is they're executed, which no one understands that they're actually killing these people because they don't have the concept of life and death and what it means, if that makes sense. So when they kill someone, they're not realizing that they're doing something wrong. They're like, we're helping them on to a retirement, basically. So Jonas is like, this can't keep happening, and they find out there's this border around their civilization where if one of the receivers manages to breach the border, the wall comes down and all the memories start flooding back into everyone, even though there's this injection they've been taking to inhibit it. So I don't understand how that exactly works, unless the injection is some type of microbe that's affected by I don't know. They don't really explain it. I'm sure it's explained better in the book. So he sets out to breach this field and give everyone emotions and memories, and hope that the society can rebuild itself and be positive and whatnot. So when he first starts receiving memories, and this is my flaw in the movie, which also ties into the ending. So again, spoilers. When he first starts receiving memories, his first memory is of a sled buried partially in the snow. He rides the sled down the hill, and he comes to a cabin where people are inside singing Christmas carols. So then, blah, 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 everything happens. He gets to where the barrier is, and he realizes that he has to get across the barrier, but he doesn't have the energy left to do it. And then suddenly, he starts to recognize where he's at, and it's his first vision of where he rode the sled. So he goes over to where the sled would have been, and sure enough, sitting right there in the snow is the sled. Now, this memory was passed down to him from the old receiver, who got it from previous receiver. There's been generations. He says it was long before him, long before everyone. So you would think that if this sled was still here, it would be buried under a lot more snow than what it is, because it's still visible from the surface. It's not like he went to where he thought it would be and dusted it off. At least, not in the movie. Maybe that's what happened in the book. But it's basically just still kind of sitting, partially submerged in the snow, but you can see enough of it to know that it's there. So he pulls it up out of the snow, rides it down the hill, gets to the bottom of the hill, and sure enough, there's this house where everyone was supposedly singing Christmas carols. And it has Christmas decorations all around it that are lit up, implying that there's still electricity going to this house. He hears singing, but he's not sure if it's real singing or if it's his memory. So it kind of left that as a cliffhanger, but if there's still electricity going to this house, it would imply that someone is potentially still living there, or there's a society existing outside of where their society is. And it's never really made clear, because that's the end of the movie. He breached the barrier, everyone woke up, spoiler, and he's just hanging out at this house, and roll credits. So yeah, really, those are my two main flaws with it, is the sled not being covered in the snow after being out there for generations, and this house still sitting, again, kind of unburied, not in disrepair, electricity still going to it, and no conclusion to whether there's more people out there or what's going on. Again, it might have went into more detail in the book. I didn't read the book, so I don't know. So overall, did I like the movie? Yes, despite the couple of flaws, and again, with the pacing. As far as the star rating, what did I give Guardians of the Galaxy? A 3? I'm going to probably give this one a 3, too. They're about as enjoyable as each other. this one I'd probably rank a solid 3, where Guardians of the Galaxy I was kind of pushing more towards a 3.5, but because it had flaws, it stayed a 3. This one's more of a solid 3. It's kind of middle of the road. It's enjoyable, but it does have odd pacing and a couple minor things that you just don't... You know, overall, it has these little glaring moments of, well, if they're not supposed to have any emotion, why is someone getting upset about that? You know, like, things like that. So, yeah, it has its flaws. Yeah, not much else to say about it. Check it out. If you read the book, you may like it. If you read the book and you hate it, feel free to leave a comment and tell me why, how it differs. I'm always interested in hearing that kind of stuff. That's it for this review. I'll be back shortly with my next review. And until then, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Movie Reviews.